Join me as we talk all things true crime.
Made contact and shattered.
Liberty, a missing 4-year-old. The parents have called in and advised that the mother had went for a walk, came home, now they can't find her, they've been feeling worse.
Turn it over to another agency. Let's get some help.
Where are your kids? They've been missing for 4 months. You have nothing to say? You're over here in Hawaii? Chad, where are Lori's kids?
4 were stabbed multiple times and were likely asleep during the attack. Some had defensive wounds.
Most of them had just like one that was the lethal stab wound.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you all for being here. Justice has been served for Paul and Maggie Murdoch. As everyone knows, AlexMurdaugh was found guilty yesterday. 3 hours it took the jury to decide. And here is the hero, Bubba. So I think we can all thank Bubba for making Alex yell out in that Snapchat video, because that Snapchat video sealed the deal. So good morning, everybody. Can everybody hear me? Hello, Adrian and Melmac, everyone for joining. Thanks for being here. Thanks so much for being here. Hi, Florida. Hi, Mike. It's good to see you guys. Hit that thumbs up if you haven't done so already. I did not expect us to be here discussing the verdict today. I really thought that, by Monday we would have something maybe to talk about. I never thought that it was going to take 3 hours. So I don't know. I was super surprised. I did not think that they were going to I thought it was going to be hung. Like, I think Monday when we talked, I said to you guys that I really needed to listen to the closing arguments because I just felt like the state's case was a little bit rocky. However, they pulled it together. They laid it out in closing arguments in a way that just sort of makes sense. Alec never had another suspect named. The law enforcement never had another suspect in mind. It was basically he was the only one that had the time and the means to do it. Now, the motive part is what I'm still having a hard time with. I don't know about you guys. Like, I get it. Like, Paul was just a financial liability. The fact that he calls Paul a little detective still stands out in my mind. What exactly does that mean? Was Paul threatening him to expose him about anything that he knew about? Ultimately that Snapchat video. And what else really was the nail in the coffin for me was when he couldn't remember, the conversation that he had before he went back to the house. Do you guys think that he would have done better if he didn't put himself on the stand? Let me know, because I just feel like when I'm looking back at the trial and I'm thinking about moments that really were just like, ooh, this is not good. Like, it all had to do with him answering certain questions or him saying certain things on the stand. Like, even when he was talking about heading back to the house and he was like, I got out of there. Him saying that, I feel like he doesn't understand how it sounded. It's like, oh, so you got out of there. Did you know something was coming? Or, why all of a sudden did you just abruptly have to get out of there? That to me just did not sink in well. Yeah, I wonder that too, Tiffany. I wonder if Buster knew he killed them. Alex was his own undoing. Bad idea to testify. Never should have taken the stand. I agree, Mike and Karen, totally. Murdoch should have changed venue. I seen somebody questioning that yesterday too. Do you think he would have done better to change venue? Ultimately, yeah. And the fact that that juror got removed and she was going to vote not guilty. What do you guys think about that? That was crazy. I think Buster knew it in his heart. I think so too. And in fact, I have it's just a fascinating element, even though it's sad about this case. Buster, I mean, he ultimately is the living victim still. He lost his brother, he lost his mother. I think he's sitting there realizing like his father lied to him, because I'm sure his father has said like, it wasn't me, Buster, it wasn't me. Like how many times in years since this has taken place that he's just been telling Buster, it's not me, etc. So it's tragic. And I've zoomed, good morning everyone who has joined also. I've zoomed in a little bit on Buster as Alec leaves the courtroom. So I did put some clips together. It's like 6 minutes long. I'm going to play that. And then I think we're going to play the crime scene reconstruction that has been going around. And then I want to play some news clips. And then, yeah, just talk about this with you guys, because right now, as you guys know, there's no court at 9:30. They are going to do sentencing today, but I just don't feel like that's really worth watching, I mean, you guys definitely could tune in, but so where we're going to go from here on this channel, obviously we have to wait for Idaho 4 to pick up again once Brian Kohberger is at his prelim hearing in June. Now, I have been hearing rumors that's something that his lawyers could even delay if they wanted to or if they needed to. So I don't want to hold my breath thinking that we're going to jump into reporting on Idaho in June. Like we will, with whatever is said, but right now I think where we're going to go from here is the Lori Vallow trial, which is coming up. So I don't know if anyone's interested in following that, but I think that we are going to follow that. And what do you guys think about following Lori Vallow? Do you guys know anything about it? And thank you so much, Mike. I see everyone's thanking you for the membership, so thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And chat does too. So the Gannon stuff definitely will be following too. Which one is first, Shay? And I know that CDT wants to follow Gannon. She might even stream the trial daily. So I think if that takes place, we'll probably be watching it there. We can always do a morning show and then kind of lead up to her chat when court starts, sort of like we've done here, except we didn't really go anywhere to watch AlexMurdaugh together, but we could always maybe set that up and watch that together. People are interested in the Daybell and Lori Vallow one. Yeah, they split Chad and Lori's case, so that'll be 2 trials. So is Lori's case going to be delayed, or just because they've split it now Daybell's is? All right, so what I want to do is just play my clips that I put together, and we'll gather back and discuss them. So let me just play that, and thank you all for being here.
This is AlexMurdaugh at 4147 Moselle Road. I need the police and the ambulance immediately.
Do you see anyone in the area?
No, ma'am.
This is a long story. My son was in a boat wreck a few months back. He's been getting threats.
Better than it was, ain't it?
Come here, Bob.
Come here, Bob.
I don't see anybody. There is parts next to him there.
And, I called 911 pretty much right away. And she was very good. It did it so bad.
Docket number 2022 GS 15-00592, the State of South Carolina, County of Colleton, in the Court of General Sessions in the term of 2022, July, the State versus Richard Alexander Murdoch, defendant, indictment for murder, SC Code 16-3-0010, CDR Code 0116. Do you want me to turn this off? Okay. Guilty verdict. Signed by the forelady, 3/2/23. Docket number 2022-GS-15-00593, the State of South Carolina, County of Colleton, in the Court of General Sessions, the July term of 2022. The State versus Richard Alexander Murdoch, defendant. Indictment for murder, SC Code 16-3-0010, CDR Code 0116. Verdict, guilty. Signed by the forelady. Date 3/2/23. Docket number 2022-GS15-00595. The State of South Carolina, County of Colleton, Court of General Sessions, July term 2022. The State versus Richard Alexander Murdoch, defendant. Indictment for possession of a weapon during the commission of a violent crime. SC Code -16-23-0490. CDR Code 0549. Verdict, guilty. Signed by the foreperson of the jury. Date 3/2/23. Docket number 2022-GS-15-00594. The State of South Carolina, County of Colleton, Court of General Sessions, July term 2022. The State versus Richard Alexander Murdoch, defendant. Indictment for possession of a weapon during the commission of a violent crime. SC Code 16-23-0490. CDR Code 0549. Verdict, guilty. Signed by the foreperson of the jury. 3/2/23.
Thank you. Madam Forelady and members of the jury, if that is the verdict of each and every juror, please let it be known by raising your right hands.
Now I'm going to pause it real quick. And I agree. Not only does Buster have no one, and thank you, Melissa, for becoming a member. Drive safe, Shabanae, dropping the kids off. Thank you so much, Caroline. I appreciate you too. And thank you so much for always being here and chatting. I agree, Diane. I feel sorry for Buster. I don't think he saw a guilty verdict coming. I really feel that way too. I feel like he was stunned. Like, I feel like, and I could be wrong, and you guys let me know what you're thinking. I'm wondering if he never let his mind go to the part of it where, you know, he accepted that his dad could possibly have done this. Like, I really think that he's just turned a blind eye and just been like, nope, nope, nope. Couldn't have been him, couldn't have been him. And now that he's hearing this, I think it's like I think it's for the first time sinking in his mind, like, that he does not know exactly what happened there at that kennel that night. And he's like, wow. So if they all think he did it, like, did he do it? Like, I just wonder if he never let his mind go there until this moment, because he just looks destroyed. I feel like Buster looks more destroyed than Alex.
All right, thank you. Any individual polling requested?
We do, Your Honor.
Madam Clerk, you'll need to individually poll the jury.
See, I think he does show emotion. I think, like, for a long time during this whole trial, he didn't. But I think he just could not hold it back here. Like, I don't know. I know people are saying that they're not seeing emotion from him, but, like, I'm seeing his face, like, just sink.
Jury according to their juror numbers.
Number 193 was.
You could even see his, like, chest moving up and down. And good morning, Lucy. Glad you're here. I could see that too, Mike. He said Alex knew last days why took the stand, but was shocked when reality hit. My thoughts. Yeah, he's upset. Elaine sees it. I saw him holding back, sobbing. Me too. Like, this is what a man looks like when they just can't hold, or when they've told themselves to hold it in and not let it go, but he is just breaking, which, you know, you can't blame him. Buster was crying and looked shocked. Yeah, there's a point where he like wipes his face too. I zoomed in, so we'll get to it.
Is this your verdict?
Yes, sir.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes.
Juror 254.
Yes.
Is this your verdict?
Yes.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes.
Juror 326. Was this your verdict?
Yes.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes.
Juror 6, Juror 5.
And E.E. Caroline says, I figure Buster is just another Alex in training. In my view, I strongly suspect this is a wake-up call that will be ignored. Narcissism runs strong in his family. I definitely could see that too. And, you know, I've seen people say things about the Stephen, what's his last name, guys? Help me out. Smith case. Duh, it's like the most famous last name. I've seen people already speculating that Buster was upset, not because his father was being sentenced, but because he's afraid his father's going to tell the truth about what happened with Stephen. And again, that's just hearsay, just like, you know, if like this, Christine, if Buster was involved with Stephen's demise, maybe he can be cellmates with Alex Murdaugh. I mean, you're not the only one who thinks that, you know what I mean? Like, if there is more to this, I'm curious where that's all going to go. If Buster is crying, it's because he knows he's next. Justice for Stephen. I mean, they reopened that case for a reason, and they only reopen cases with new evidence. So what piece of new evidence allowed them to reopen Stephen Smith's case? And at the same point, did SLED ever investigate Stephen Smith's case? Because even though we were able to convict Alex with their investigation skills, I just really don't trust SLED that much. I'm sorry. I just felt like that whole t-shirt thing with the blood splatter that was never solid in my mind, and the whole raincoat with GSR on it. You know, first it was found outside, then it was found in the closet. Like, all that just like didn't sit well with me. I don't know what exactly was going on with SLED, but you know, I'm happy we got the conviction, but at the same time, I really hope that they've learned from this themselves and they do a better and more thorough job on the next investigation that they're working on. So Chopper said they said it was a hit and run, and that's BS. I agree that it's BS. So that was that SLED's verdict on that, or was that just local law enforcement? They didn't really prove he did it. They proved he most likely did. That's not the same. Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of people who feel that way. The most I think is like, I mean, they had no other suspects. There was nobody else that they could point to, you know? And the other things that really opened my eyes is, you know, this family has so much money. Hang on one second. This family has so much money, and yet, you know, it would have looked better if Alex was like, we have a private investigator who's looking into Paul and Maggie's deaths. You know, stuff like that would have made things and the optics look a little different. You know, the reward money that they had up, and then they decided to put a time limit on the reward money. All those things would have looked better for Alex, you know. Not saying I wanted him to get away with anything, because I do think that he was guilty. Did he pull both the triggers? Did he hire someone to help him with it? All those are still kind of questions I have. But ultimately, I do think that he was guilty. He's the only one that really had like the means to do it. But, and honestly, I was sort of stunned that it only took them 3 hours. If any of us are on trial for a double murder, you know, I would hope that they would take a little bit longer. But ultimately, I think that the jury just saw it how we are seeing it. And there's no other suspect. There was nobody else who possibly could have done this. And yeah, Diane thinks he did it by himself. There's other people who think 2 guns, so there must have been 2 people. There's other people who think, no, absolutely, there was nobody else there. It's just, Melmex said, I just feel since Alex was found guilty that more information will come forward about Stephen Smith, maybe. Maybe. I don't know, though. I feel like Alex already thinks that he's going to get away with or appeal or something. I don't know. Which reminds me, when Alex leaves the courtroom, I zoomed in on it and he has like a little like conversation with his lawyer. I really kind of want to like pause it and go slow. And I'm like, what do you think he said to Harpootlian or whatever his name was? Good morning, Tom Ann. It's good to see you. And thank you for the super chat. I hope you're having a wonderful week. You guys have a great weekend too. Good morning, Lady Sarah. Okay, let me finish this. Just, let's watch the body language, and then we'll get into the crime scene reconstruction, and then some little segment about the case on Banfield.
3-0. Was this your verdict?
Yes.
Is this your verdict?
Yes.
Juror 544.
Yes.
Was this your verdict?
Yes.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes.
Juror 572. Was this your verdict?
Yes.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes.
Juror 578. Was this your verdict?
Yes.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes.
Juror 589. Was this your verdict? Is it still your verdict?
Yes.
Juror 630. Was this your verdict?
Yes.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes.
Juror 729. Was this your verdict?
Yes.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes.
Juror 826. Was this your verdict?
Yes.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes.
Juror 864. Was this your verdict?
Yes.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes.
Your Honor, the jury has been polled.
Thank you. The jury has been polled and the verdict is a unanimous verdict. If you will bring the alternate juror out and have her have a seat in the audience, please.
Now, this is the little exchange I really want to know, like what they're saying. Look at the way he's looking at him. Do you think he's mad at him, or do you think he's wondering, like, do you think I did it? Or what do you think this whole thing is about right here? Now, I'm going to kind of like pause it because, or you know what? Let me just play it through, pull it up through YouTube, and then I'll slow it down that way. So bear with me. All right, so hold on. Let me just pull it up. I just want to kind of look at it a little closer. I hope you guys don't mind. Let me switch screens. 1 second, guys. Okay, so I've slowed it down a little bit. I just want to see. I don't know, it's kind of grainy. Forget it, guys. It's not even that. It's just kind of grainy. I can't see it as good. Notice he doesn't give a single glance over at Buster. Nothing. His lawyers knew he did it. They had a job to try to do. You think? And like, honestly, I felt even more sad for Buster near this end. Like, was he looking for a look from his dad? Was he looking for an I love you from his dad? Was he looking for something? He literally gets nothing. Hold on. So here it is, zoomed in, and then just watch Buster. You think that's what they were saying, Jesse? She said it was like he was telling Poot that it's all right. I know you tried your best. I wonder, was it that, or like, was it like, we gotta appeal this or something? Yeah, he got nothing for Buster is right. So sad. Like, he has a short amount of time in between being rushed away, and he decides to make some signal to the lawyer, which I understand, but Buster just gets nothing. Now, is that because Alex is ashamed and knows that, like, he did it and now he's got to look at his son? Or is it just because what? You know what I mean? He's just worried about himself and didn't even think about his other son being there? Yeah, Alex didn't love anything or anyone but himself. That's sort of the feeling I got when he leaves the courtroom, ultimately. I mean, and again, we all knew that anyways. That was this whole thing. Whatever Paul was looking into, whatever him and Maggie were looking into, little detectives, it was enough to make Alex irate, in a sense that he had to do self-preservation, and whatever was going to happen, he had to stop in its tracks and, look out for himself. Tom N says, my theory is Paul hides drugs. Alex has withdrawals, already pissed about the boat lawsuit. He hops on golf cart, pulls up, shoots Paul from golf cart. It's just so hard to decide like when a conflict occurred, because you hear them in the Snapchat video and it sounds like they're fine. They had dinner together. You saw Alex with this, the tree in Paul's Snapchat just hours prior, and they're laughing and all that. So like, when was it that Alex decided like, no. You know what I mean? Like, was it just already decided before all that? Or was it decided, like you said, like something had happened, like he realized Paul like stashed something, or, and then he flipped, like what is this? Premeditated or snap? Likely Nicole says, hi, ATS, this is crazy. There's so much reasonable doubt. I'm shocked. I mean, when they said 3 hours, they came up with a verdict. I was like, no way. No way. He's been planning it, Diane says. Poot asked for the jury view, and it sealed it for the jury. ATS News, Shea Benet says he snapped. Kib Kitty says premeditated. And that's the thing, likely, Nicole. We don't even have those answers, right? It doesn't make sense. Like, I understand, like, okay, you can get pissed at Paul and whatever Paul was going to do, but I'm just like, but why kill them? That's what I'm like, and they just sounded happy in the video. So it wasn't like they were just arguing and stuff. I mean, I guess you couldn't really tell because they're just talking to Bubba. I don't know. It's driving me a little nuts too. Yeah, when he took the stand, I told myself he is done. What do I think really happened? I lean towards more premeditated. Yeah, Caroline, that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking once everything started to crumble around Alex, I think that he knew he was going to be facing something for those financial problems. you know, the stealing of the money. Like, I feel like he knew that his back was up against the wall. And at that point, Paul had already solidified like a lawyer for his boating crash. And I think Alex realized that he needed money and legal help himself, and that Paul's situation was just going to take away from protecting him for his financial stuff. You know, it was like the perfect storm at the same time. Yeah, this case is a perfect example of money and greed. I agree. Like, I think he was so angry because he didn't have any pills and Paul was carrying them, in my honest opinion, Adrian said. I think that the pills definitely lead up to this too. You know, like Paul finding those pills in May, the month prior to this. I think that Alec had just had enough of like things falling apart for him and resented Paul for the boating incident because they were going to get the wrongful death lawsuit. I don't know. It just all comes down to money for Alex, I think. I think that he had a superficial connection to his wife and sons. I mean, even just walking out of the courtroom here without even a look at Buster made me feel like he has no ties to these people emotionally. I don't know. What exactly happened, I'm not sure. But I do think that it was premeditated, and I think that he had just had enough of Paul. And that he needed that legal help and that money to go to his legal problems, like the financial stuff that was going to come out. And Paul having all that help, good morning, Wolfie and everyone else, Paul getting that help was not going to be convenient. The whole addiction narrative, I only believe it because of the text messages about mom found pills in your laptop bag. We need to talk. Now, was he dealing it? Was he taking them? Was he dealing and taking them? I don't know. But at the same time, I don't think there's much money for somebody like Alex to make selling pills here and there. You know, so I don't know. Yeah, Alex said himself, whoever did this thought about it for a long time. That's true. So again, let's watch Buster in the background here, and then we'll switch up to the crime scene reconstruction, and then another little segment from Banfield. And thank you all for being here. Please hit the thumbs up if you haven't done so. Subscribe. We're happy to have you. And you know what I noticed too about Buster there? Soon as his dad is like side view where he could look over at him, Buster wipes his face. Like, did he want his dad to see and think he was crying, and then he just never looked over, or what? Like, here's the perfect opportunity for Alex to look over at his son, mouth to him, I love you, like he did for John Marvin when John Marvin got off the stand, his brother. And he just doesn't. He doesn't look over. I don't know if it's because he can't, because of shame or what. But Buster just gets nothing. It's sad. It's really sad, but justice was served. That's all we know. Now, again, the questions. I feel justice is served, but I don't understand it still. I don't know how you guys are feeling. So this is from a smaller channel. What's this channel? Cindy McCord. But it's from TikTok. So I don't know if it's her TikTok or if she took it and put it on YouTube. I'm not sure. But I felt like this was something that the prosecution should have showed in court. However, I guess since they got the verdict they wanted, they didn't need to. But have you guys seen this?
Paul was in a dog kennel taking a video that ended at 8:46. A few minutes later, he was walking to the feed room. He's texting a
Now, I don't want to be nitpicky, but I believe the Snapchat was 8:44, not 8:46.
friend and reads his last text at 8:48:59. Seconds later, the first shot is fired. At 8:49:01, his phone is forever locked and never used again. Blood drips from Paul's left arm as he staggers to the door. The gunman, thinking he had killed Paul with the first shot, goes to get his other weapon, but is shocked when he senses Paul by the door. A second earlier, Maggie at 8:49 reads her last text and is interrupted by the sound of gunfire. She turns to run back. The gunman grabs his gun and runs towards Maggie. As she approaches, she sees Paul on the ground, but the gunman stops her. Let's rewind this so we can see the pathologist's report. Now let's circle around and see the path of the bullets. Here we see the two entrant wounds, one here and another here. Circling around to the back, we can see those exit wounds. Now we can see those wounds, one here and the other here. Continuing on to the last illustration, we can see how she was shot in an upward direction, the bullet going through her breast and into the head, as noted in the diagram.
Did you all hear what's going on with Michael Jackson?
So I thought that was a good visual. Just really brutal to see it that way. But now let's see. I haven't watched this, so I figured we'll watch it together. It's the Banfield segment from last night. I'm not sure if you guys have seen it or not, but yeah, 5 shots to Maggie. Unbelievable. And did you see the size of the bullets for that one? The 300 blackout? Oh my gosh. Terrible. And that's the thing is like, good morning, Seagate and everyone else. I agree with this. Buster got the real answer in that moment. He doesn't care less other than for himself. Yep. I agree here too, Ruckus Rocks. Justice being served while warranted doesn't really heal anyone. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You're more likely to be murdered by a family member than a stranger. And that's what I sort of had been saying, like, the whole time in my mind is like, take Paul out of this because, you know, that's the one that's really hard to kind of grasp, you know, like why his son, you know? I mean, we see that Paul wasn't perfect. So this situation sort of is like, okay, he resented him or, you know, he thought his son was trouble or his son caused him a lot of headaches and money. But if you took Paul out of it, I mean, of course, Alex would be the main suspect for Maggie. Yeah. The extra for poor Maggie told me it was Alex too. Right? And you know what? When he was in his police interview, I think it was the second one, and he's talking about Maggie, which, by the way, he refers to her as his wife, even on the 911 call. You know, she was never really given a name unless he was asked it, or he would like sprinkle it in there. It was always my wife and well, my wife. And it's like, you know her name, right? Like her name isn't my wife. It's Maggie. It's Margaret. But you know, it was always just when he was in that police interview and he was like talking about, and she never had to work and she wanted to always take care of us. It was almost like, even though the way he was saying it was supposed to make it seem like she was such a good motherly mother at home and took care of the house, it almost sounded like, did he resent her for not like working? You know, because think about it, this guy is all about money. You know, he had to steal so much money from people, even though he already had money. Like, it's just unbelievable, this guy. Like, when I was hearing the numbers and all that, like, holy. Good morning, Roxanne. Shay, take a break. You're doing a great job, though. All my mods are. All right, let's see what Banfield has to say.
An investigative reporter for WSAV-TV. He's been covering this case for us from the beginning, and he was in the courtroom when that verdict was read. And Jo Ellen Demetrius is a famed jury consultant who worked with O.J. Simpson's legal dream team, so she knows a lot about juries. Okay, first to you, Andrew Davis, and the reaction in the courtroom, specifically Maggie's family, because up until now it's been very confusing. Everybody seemed to be on Alec Murdaugh's side of the courtroom. His direct family and Maggie's family as well. Give me the essence of how everybody took this verdict.
I'll tell you, it was the quietest room I maybe have ever been in. I know they locked everybody down and said, don't have any reaction whatsoever. But if you're talking about media people, jury, the entire gallery, both families, you could have heard a pin drop in that room. There was no emotion basically from anyone, a few tears from Lynn. Buster started to tear up, but basically he kept his hand on his cheek the entire time and did not move, and no one said a word. And there did not seem to be any sort of, it seemed like everybody was just locked down because they didn't expect it this quickly. They weren't ready for it. And then when it came down, they were maybe even more shocked that the way it came down, quickly it came down and did exactly what Maggie's family, I believe, wanted them to do.
And was it really cohesive between Maggie's family members and Alec's family members? Did they all seem to have the same vision, and that was that Alec was innocent?
I think it's a mix of that. I don't think Maggie's family will ever tell you for sure that they believed he was innocent. I think they had real questions about it, but they took him on vacation to Somerville. These are people who believed in him so deeply. Now, watching this case and going through it, did that change? I don't know if we'll know until they speak out, but these are people who stood by Alec every step of the way and came with him, let them stay at their house. They were with him and they believed in him this entire time. Basically, as far as I can tell, almost right up until this verdict itself.
I paused it real quick. And thank you so much, Shay Benet, for gifting memberships, and good morning, Lex Luthor and everyone else who have joined. Was Buster's girlfriend here that yesterday? Because I don't see her like next to him at all or anything.
Jo Ellen, I will just lay a bet that you have seen this kind of thing play out so many times. I'm going to show you some video of the moment that the verdict came down. There was the former Attorney General of South Carolina was in the courtroom sitting right in front of Buster. And he went on television afterwards saying that he witnessed Alec, as he was walking out in cuffs, turn and mouth the words to Buster, "I'm sorry, I love you." That's what the former Attorney General, Charlie Condon.
Oh, wow. I hadn't heard that. I had not heard that. Good morning, Allison. Glad you're here. Did you guys hear that? That he did turn to Buster and say, "I love you and I'm sorry"? Hold on. Let's listen.
Said on television, on a local TV channel, just as Dad was getting cuffed and being ready to be taken out. So that's him on just to the left of Buster. That's Attorney General Charlie Condon, former Attorney General of South Carolina. I just have to ask you about your experience. When you get a verdict that's this surprising, this quickly, what's the first thing that goes through your mind, Jo Ellen, with all your jury experience?
Well, my first reaction when I heard there was a verdict coming back was that it was going to be a conviction. And I think the prosecutor did a wonderful job. And I think to really sum up this case, and something he could have said in closing arguments, is this case was about drugs, debt, and deception very clearly. And this jury understood that. This man had lived this lie for decades, I would suggest. And I think this jury was onto him relatively early on. And rather, like they say, the old adage, if an attorney represents himself, he has a fool as a client. When he got on that stand, that was his death warrant. because he
and I
thought
felt
he
the
was
exact
smart
opposite.
enough.
Joellen, I can't believe you said that. I thought the exact opposite. I thought, man, he's good. I mean, it wasn't just tears. It was stuff coming out of his nose. I mean, it was, right?
See, I disagree with Ashley Banfield. I think that the first day Alex went on the stand, he did decent. Like, he outsmarted the prosecution in a lot of ways. He was just very witty, but I think that it wore him down. I think that by the time it was all said and done, I think that Alex just like dug himself holes that he couldn't get out of. You know, there was never a moment when Alex was on the stand where he was like, he never said like, I went right back to the house, but I wish I would have stuck around longer. I could have protected them. I could have saved them. Maybe I could have called 911 sooner. You know, like there was never any of that. And that was like super lacking on Alex's part on the testimony. So I thought that was just like, you know, sometimes it's not what you say on the stand, it's about what you're not saying on the stand. And I think that Alex really screwed up. So I was surprised that Ashley Banfield thought that he was, you know, on point or whatever she was saying. But
It wasn't an act.
Oh, well, yeah, but if you recall, one of his former partners actually said this guy had theatrical flair in the courtroom when he tried cases. So how much of a stretch is it for somebody who, you know, maybe now he really realizes how much he screwed up. And so maybe some of that emotion and the goop coming out of his nose was real. But the bottom line is this man lived a lie for decades. And this jury, you know, has known about this family forever and ever. And I think they said, we don't want to be looked at as, you know, people who just had the wool pulled over their eyes.
I agree with this woman 100%. Like, I think that, and this was sort of what you guys were talking about earlier in chat. Do you guys think that he would have done better without having the venue local? You know, if he had gone outside and done like a you know, away from where he grew up. And like she said, like these people knew the family. Although, like, why are they on the jury if they knew of the family? Like, wouldn't they have asked like that during selection? Either way, I just feel like if he had taken the stand in a venue outside of that area, even though taking the stand was bad for him, I'm wondering if the jury would have been different, you know, with him on the stand if it wasn't local. Jesse's saying yes, and if he didn't take the stand. Yeah. So a non-local venue and you don't take the stand, you know, Alex probably wishes he could do it all over. Or a non-local venue, and then, you know, if he had to take the stand, because I just feel like he was going to be hard to say no to anyways. Like he's a narc, you know what I mean? He wants to just say his side and all that, and try to convince. Yeah, I would not do any interviews. I agree, Karen. Who knows, like the connections to this family or whatever. There was something else I was going to say too. I think it was about Alex taking the stand. Let me think about it and play this.
And I think as well, just the way he appeared in court with his little glasses on his nose, I think that the aloofness of that came across to these jurors, and I think hopefully we hear some of the commentary. I said.
That's interesting how she brings up how Alex, you know, has his glasses at the end of his nose at times. I do think that his appearances from the jury, he looked too much like he was part of that legal team rather than like a grieving husband or, you know, somebody who's just innocent. Like this is wrong. Like there were times when his partners were up on the stand testifying about, you know, like, I respected him and I thought he was a great guy, blah, blah, blah. And all Alex was doing was just like writing notes or like with his glasses down on the end of his nose, looking at them. And I just thought like, man, like this stuff's getting me more emotional. And I look over and he was just cold, like stone faced, or he's like writing something down. It's like, I just felt like there were times where he should have at least been tearing up and he wasn't. Florida Bass Fishing says this guy got what he deserved. Greed, set his fate. Enjoy the rest of your life in jail. I love your 2 cents. And I agree. And good morning, Evil CJ. It's good to see you. If anyone likes nighttime shows, check out Evil CJ. He's always bringing the latest. Okay, let me look, Shay, at someone's questions. Okay, one of the jury members said on Good Morning America this morning that when they first went back, 2 jurors said not guilty and one was not sure. What do you think changed their mind in under 3 hours? Whoa. Yeah, and that woman that got booted, the one with the eggs, she was apparently not guilty as well. So 3 not guilty, somewhat possibly people before things got mixed up. What do I think changed their mind in under 3 hours? I think the Snapchat video, the fact that we're missing significant pieces of evidence, like the shirt, the shoes, the guns that were family guns. And I think the fact that he couldn't really remember the last conversation with them, like the fact that, like, you know, when the prosecutor was like, well, did you even say goodbye? You know, like something like that. I just feel like Alex did not think about, you know, whenever it came to like emotional things, like he's very calculated, you know, but the one thing that he didn't calculate into his whole plan was how to do this emotional thing, you know. He probably thought, I'll show some snot and people will believe it. Like, nobody, you can't just pull out your old acting and theatrics like you used to do in the courtroom. Like, this is your family. Like, you would not be the way that you are right now. Like, you would be like, I wish I said goodbye, or I never got to say goodbye. It was nothing like that. He was very defensive when it came to the departure. Remember, with Maggie, he's like, well, I would never leave Maggie without some sort of salutation or something. And I'm just like, buddy, this is the last time you saw and talked to your family. Like, even though you might not remember your exact conversation, like, you have nothing more to add to this, you know, like, he had nothing to say. Like, and, you know, I remember it was just so beautiful. The sun was going down and Maggie, and she had the sun in her hair. And I just remember thinking she was so beautiful. And I still ended up going to the house. It was nothing like that. You know what I mean? The real life not playing a role, Alex. Yeah. He took the stand as he does not trust anyone to do anything better than himself. Arrogance. Exactly. And what do they always say? Pride, you know, it can be a lot of people's downfalls. I mean, just look at history. When you look at pride, so many people have been taken down by their own pride. Griffin did more harm than good in closing by repeating. Oh my gosh, I thought the same thing in repeating the prosecution's case. Like, he was saying things like, the prosecution will tell you that it had to be Alex because of the Snapchat and the phone's locked minutes later. So they had to have been dead and Alex had to have been there. And I'm like, why are you recapping this? Like, aren't you supposed to be rewriting the story a little bit? I don't know. I definitely saw that too, though. Why did Alex say it was chaotic at the kennels? I never understood that. Yeah. The comments he says about, that's a good one that I was sort of like, huh? His police interview when he says that Paul was a little detective always had me questioning, like, huh? And then he says that one, like, I got out of there. Like, when he's talking about being at the kennels, that one was like red flags for me too. I'm like, what? Those were definitely things that I was like, and remember when he was talking about, oh, the other thing is, remember when he's talking about Maggie and the chicken, and he's like, well, no, because you hear Maggie say, he's got a chicken. And it's like, no, Alex, she said he's got a guinea. It's like he doesn't even remember or want to remember the last things even that they were saying on that Snapchat. Like, it makes me think every time they played that Snapchat video, Alex was singing some song in his head where he didn't hear it. Like, he didn't even get her quote correctly. That was another thing that really stuck out to me. I'm like, you don't even know what she's saying? And yes, they were saying the guinea and the chicken is both a bird, but like, Alex should be able to quote her 100% accurately, and he didn't. I'm like, what? To me, that was like a red flag too. Just very detached. Griffin was the most convincing attorney for the prosecution. Agree. All right, so what do I want to do now? Let me play the rest of this. And I don't know, guys. I mean, this is pretty much it. We're almost at an hour. Yeah, her last words. He probably knew those were pretty much her last words, and he just never wanted to say them out loud. All right, I don't know, guys. Let me play the rest of this Banfield thing.
Said from the beginning, this man was going to be convicted.
Yeah, and there wasn't much emotion when the verdict was read, that's for sure. But listen, I'd be stunned too if I'd just been found guilty of 2 murders of my family. Okay, so I have to ask you this, Andrew. A lot of people are talking about all of the different appellate issues that could be raised in this case. Did you hear anything from Dick Harpootlian and the team about, well, it's not the last you've seen of AlexMurdaugh. We have all sorts of stuff that we can deal with on appeal.
I've got sources that absolutely tell me they're planning their appeal already. They believe they got the short end of the stick with the financial crimes coming out, and they're ready to use that as an appellate situation. Also, they feel that Judge Newman may have been biased towards them in some form. I think they're going to try to use all of that. They are far from done in this case. Now, the question would be, Alec ran out of all his money already. So will they go ahead and do this pro bono, or do they feel this is the right thing to do? They absolutely are ready to appeal this as we speak. They're going to go through sentencing, and I wouldn't be surprised to see this done quickly, turned around, looking for an appeal.
Wow. Okay, Joellen, I've got 10 seconds left, but if they do appeal, or if anything happens and the trial results is thrown out and they try him again, how are you going to find anybody who hasn't heard all that financial evidence?
I don't think you could. And then it's just a matter of, have they prejudged the case based on that?
You two are brilliant. Joellen, thank you. Andrew Davis, thank you. So insightful.
Let me pull up. I see Crazy Crime Chick has a clip of him leaving court. They played it in that little Banfield segment, but I just want to see that closed up a little bit. And if you haven't subscribed, make sure you subscribe to Crazy Crime Chick. Because I don't see him like leaving court, waving and saying I love you to Buster, like Banfield was claiming her source said. So I don't know if maybe there was another area where that took place. But as far as we've seen today, we don't see him look over at Buster unless he's doing it right there and we didn't see it because it's off camera. I don't know. I don't know what to believe as far as did he say goodbye to Buster? What are you guys thinking? Let me pull up another little thing about Buster and then we'll probably just call it a day, guys. And like I said, we'll be following Gannon and Letitia Stouch trial and Lori Vallow. Hold on. I think it's this one an hour ago. Let me switch up my screen and thank you guys for being here. And of course, I don't know if you guys have seen my community page. I try to update you guys on Idaho 4 updates through the community page. I also shared a video yesterday with Brian Koberger's ex-boss from when he was in high school. So I thought that was interesting. If you guys haven't seen it, it's in my little video section on the channel. So this came out this morning. I haven't seen it yet.
Now she's a jury consultant. She's also a leading body language expert in human behavior. So Susan, we just saw that. What did you make of his reaction or perhaps the lack thereof?
Well, there was reaction there, but it was concealed. So he's trying to hold back his emotions. But if you've noticed that his skin was more blotchy and there was more white that you see that is in his face than we've seen before, that's that fear, right? That he's overwhelmed. But you also see him just slightly just kind of rocking.
Thank you so much, Mike. I really appreciate the super chat and you gifting memberships and always just being in chat. Everyone loves your comments, and I just really appreciate your insight and your support. So he said, great job covering another case. Thank you, Amber. No problem, Mike. And I appreciate you guys being here. Hi, SRB. It's good to see you. They said he turned to Buster and said, I'm sorry and I love you. That was on Good Morning America. But where, though? Where can we see that? I mean, unless it's somewhere we just don't see, because we see him walking outside and we see him leaving the courtroom. So where else would that have taken place? Hallways or something? He was blinking a lot. I feel like Alex looks like he aged. So here's the thing. He ages once he goes into prison, in my opinion, like as far as, he drops weight and all that. But then in the beginning of the trial a few weeks ago to now, I feel like he's already aged like another 5 years.
And at the same time, his eyes are blinking more rapidly. So every time it came to that he was guilty, watch the eye flutter. And that is that cognitive load, the reality of what's happening. But I think he expected it. His whole face demeanor was just melting off. So he knew before he walked in there, especially since there was a verdict in 3 hours, he knew that what that outcome was going to be, because he's an attorney himself. Not good for AlexMurdaugh yesterday.
Okay, Jesse Lynn said when he was being cuffed, Alex was facing Buster, not the cameras. Okay, and I see other people saying that too. Got you. It was when he was being cuffed facing the audience. Got you. Okay, thank you. Well, it's like, at least Buster got that, but holy cow. Like, what does I'm sorry mean? Like, really, Dad?
So the feed that I was watching of this guilty verdict also had a split screen with Buster, and Buster also didn't show very much emotion until I think the fourth verdict was read. It looked like he did shed some tears and he put his head down. But what did you make of the reaction of Buster to go along with that of his father?
Yeah, so Buster is, when we look at his facial expressions and throughout, he tends to mask a lot. So he's very much of an internal processor. The fact that he's leaning to the side, he's kind of melting into the group, he's not sitting straight up, he's just kind of off to the side like this. He's not feeling very confident, but you could see the sadness in his mouth, but it's ever so slight. He has learned over time to mask, to conceal his emotions. Yes, the lack of tears, but I also think that he expected the same outcome.
So that is your body language expertise. I want to ask you about the jury too, though. Less than 4 hours after 28 days in court, including the jury selection. Just as a frame of reference, these cases have nothing to do with each other, but the OJ trial lasted 11 months. They too took about 4 hours to deliberate. So much goes into this trial, and then it's less than 3 hours. What do you make of that? Or less than 3 hours. What do you make of that?
Well, I have to tell you something really interesting about this. He was convicted in 3 hours and 1 minute. The number one line number is 3. People use the number 3. Isn't that interesting and ironic that he was convicted in 3 hours? But outside of that, I think that what happened was that once that jury went into the room, they had already made up their minds, right? They took that first vote. Everybody said guilty. And now here's the outcome. Comparing it to O.J. Simpson. O.J. Simpson was a celebrity. I think he had a high level of likability. People didn't want to believe that he was guilty. So he had a lot of followers and he had a lot of charisma. I think that what happened with Alex is the minute he stood up on the stand, okay, and testified on his own behalf, once he was there and he allowed himself to be seen, his lies just started to be seen over and over again. I think he was convicted on his demeanor evidence. And again, that they couldn't believe him, and that all of the things that he said in the past, he had zero credibility. So he could have cried a river. No one believed it. And I think that that's the reason why there was this outcome.
Susan Constantine, thank you for breaking that down for us.
It's interesting. Thank you for.
Well, so will they record the conversations in prison like they did for jail? Does anyone know? Because I'd love to hear if and when Buster calls or vice versa, what is that conversation going to be like? No real tears per juror too. That's what the juror said. And this whole time we were wondering if they were seeing what we were seeing, right? Well, I see people did go to see the sentencing. So I appreciate you guys for sticking around, those who did stick around and stay here with me and talk. So I will just play the clips that I played earlier. We can just rewatch it and then it'll just close out. It's like 6 minutes long, so I'll just play it through. So all his calls are monitored in prison. Yes, thank you all for being here. We may or may not go live Monday morning. Typically we do when we're following a case. Right now we're sort of in between cases, waiting for something to start up. So just check back around and see when we're live again, or check my community page. I also have some Facebook groups, and I will link them in chat. And if I remember the description box, one of them has multiple cases, or just kind of like an all case discussion group. And it's called Open Discussions on All True Crime Cases. And you can find that on Facebook, and I will link it, like I said, in chat right now. And then the other group I have is a Chris Watts it's just solely that case, and we just discuss it. And that is called Chris Watts Did Not Act Alone, with a question mark, which I will also link. So I just appreciate you guys being here. And I'll just play the clips and we'll talk very soon. So thank you guys.
This is AlexMurdaugh at 4147 Moselle Road. I need the police and the ambulance immediately.
Do you see anyone in the area?
No, ma'am.
This is a long story. My son was in a boat wreck a few months back. He's been getting threats.
I don't see anybody. There is parts next to him there.
And, I called 911, pretty much right away. And she was very good. I did it so bad.
Docket number 2022 GS 15-00592, the State of South Carolina, County of Colleton, in the Court of General Sessions in the term of 2022, July, the State versus Richard Alexander Murdoch, defendant, indictment for murder, SC Code 16-3-0010, CDR Code 0116. Do you want me to turn it on? Okay. Guilty verdict. Signed by the forelady, 3/2/23. Docket number 2022-GS-15-00593, the State of South Carolina, County of Colleton, in the Court of General Sessions, the July term of 2022. The State versus Richard Alexander Murdoch, defendant, indictment for murder, SC Code 16-3-0010, CDR Code 0116, verdict guilty, signed by the forelady, date 3/2/23. Docket number 2022-GS-15-00595, the State of South Carolina, County of Colleton, Court of General Sessions, July term 2022. The State versus Richard Alexander Murdoch, defendant. Indictment for possession of a weapon during the commission of a violent crime. SC Code -16-23-0490. CDR Code 0549, verdict guilty, signed by the foreperson of the jury, date 3/2/23. Docket number 2022 GS-15-00594. The State of South Carolina, County of Colleton, Court of General Sessions, July term 2022. The State versus Richard Alexander Murdoch, defendant. Indictment for possession of a weapon during the commission of a violent crime. SC Code 16-23-0490. CDR Code 0549. Verdict, guilty. Signed by the foreperson of the jury, 3-2-23.
Thank you. Madam Forelady and members of the jury, if that is the verdict of each and every juror, please let it be known by raising your right hands. All right, thank you. Any individual polling requested?
We do, Your Honor.
Madam Clerk, you'll need to individually poll the jury according to their juror numbers.
Number 193. Was this your verdict?
Yes, sir.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes.
Juror 254.
Yes.
Is this your verdict?
Yes.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes.
Juror 326. Was this your verdict?
Yes.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes.
Juror 530. Was this your verdict?
Yes.
Is this your verdict?
Yes.
Juror 544.
Yes.
Was this your verdict?
Yes.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes.
Juror 572. Was this your verdict?
Yes.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes.
Juror 578. Was this your verdict?
Yes.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes.
Juror 589. Was this your verdict? Is it still your verdict?
Yes.
Juror 630. Was this your verdict?
Yes.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes.
Juror 729. Was this your verdict?
Yes.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes.
Juror 826. Was this your verdict?
Yes.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes.
Juror 864. Was this your verdict?
Yes.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes.
Your Honor, the jury has been polled.
Thank you. The jury has been polled and the verdict is a unanimous verdict. If you will bring the alternate juror out and have her have a seat in the audience, please.